So I guess I'll start with you to be a bit proactive. We're getting to the cocktail part at the end. Suddenly you see this sign, and I tell you the words radioactivity, radiation. What do you feel? What are your first associations? I don't suppose anything good. More thinking fear of the unknown, so to say. And I think it's quite reasonable, of course, because if we think about the associations that we could have with this, what comes to mind is the highly successful series of 2019 based on true events, Chernobyl, and truly a disastrous event in our humankind history. Or if you go even more into the past, you could think about this. So truly, radiation, it can be seen from a very dangerous perspective. And we need to really think how we protect ourselves, and we have a whole field in the world dedicated to that, radiation protection. But that is not the story today. What I want to get across for you today is more about, is there a good side of radiation? Can we use it for good? And to draw some parallels, how it could work, simple example, forest fires. Again, fire, a destructive force. But if you take it in a more controlled manner, it's the warm evening at your cozy apartment on Sunday, warm coffee and everything. If we go more into the medical aspects of this creature right here, cone snail, it proves to be poisonous to a lot of animals and could be also lethal to humans. But what scientists have found, if you take this poison and extract some chemicals out of it, you can actually provide medicine that we can use for relieving pain, or for the future they even propose treating epilepsy, treating Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. So getting back to radiation, so what could be this good side of radiation? And believe me, I was skeptical at first when I would have been asked this question when I just started my studies in medical physics and medical device engineering. Because whenever I was talking with my mom about this, it was like, yeah, I know, it's like a quite wide field, and whatever I will do in the future with it, I will never work with radiation. And truly, life proved me wrong on this one. Most of my professional career has been exactly working with radiation, and now that I'm back more into research as a scientist, it's, again, the same field. And even after all these years, I'm still not glowing, as you can see. The common misconception, I guess, we also could have about radiation. So truly, what I want to show you today is that there's this good side of radiation if we have the control over it. If we have it in controlled amounts and we use it for good. Because truly, of course, you do remember throughout the whole presentation and the talk that, of course, like I said, radiation can be dangerous. The trick is to use it with the minimum risk for the maximum benefit. And to start it off, it was a course that I attended last year, and it was a very good quote. I will rephrase it a bit for today. It is more of, if you have a radiation beam that has the right radiation type, so to say, right energy, right intensity, what we could do for you, we could do a better car tire, or we could get more clean drinking water. And what I will focus the most is that we can actually diagnose a disease and treat it with radiation. And truly there are a wide array of other uses, but I'll focus mostly on this. How radiation can become a tool in doctor's toolbox of the what he has in his range and his arsenal. And truly, what I'll focus the most is the cancer. And just quickly, cancer, so it's the uncontrollable growth of cells, and it's the incorrect DNA there. So the cancer is something that first we need to diagnose, and to find out where it is and how it functions. And the other aspect is treatment, which I'll focus the most. Treatment, three main pillars how we do that, but I'll focus mainly on radiation therapy here. But to sort of see how we ended up where we are now today, a bit quick jump through history, how the big science helped throughout the history for this. And bear in mind, of course, this is coming more from a scientific talker, but I'll truly just get through the concept, how it evolved. So it all started with Röntgen when he, in 1895, he was doing experiments in his lab with a cathode ray tube. He covered it all in black paper. And yet he saw that there's some sort of light, invisible light, escaping through it. And since it was unknown, he called it X-rays. And I think all of you have heard this, and most likely you know a person who had his bones scanned after the bones got broken and things like that. And truly, it got a widespread use across the globe in the medical field. And then he announced this officially to the world in 1996, and 3 days after he announced it, it was already tried for treatment. So what came next is the other word, radioactivity, 1896 again. That proved to be very crucial for both diagnostics and treatment of cancer. And from this, just 2 years later, they found a new element that is naturally radioactive, radium. Again, tried for treatment. So what happened next is the idea, if we have this X-ray tube, what would happen if we take it, rotate it around the patient, acquire images? And essentially, that was answered in a prototype in 1967 when we first created the computed tomography machine. And first image just 4 years later. And essentially now we could see what is happening inside the patient's body without actually cutting it open, so to say. And truly, where has CT, where it is now, where is this technology now? After all these years since its initial discovery and this innovation, now we do 375 million CT scans around the globe each year. And truly, that makes us wonder, do these great innovative minds, do they have this like grandeur in their mind when they first discover it? Because an interesting quote here comes from Heinrich Hertz. He discovered radio waves. And initially when he did it, he said, the radio waves that I discovered, they will have no practical uses. And I think us modern people, we can highly disagree to that whenever we listen to the radio in our car or when we ask for the Wi-Fi password, so to say. And if we go back to this, so how it followed up after this, some key aspects here, that comes under suspicious name, I guess, for some, the antimatter. And I'm talking here the scientific reality, not just science fiction depicted like in Angels and Demons. It was found that there's this antiparticle for electron, positron, and soon physicists realized by its interactions with the normal matter, we could identify where it happens, where it interacts, and that was an idea to use for medicine, again. And so they discovered elements that produce these positrons, the ways how to produce these elements, and then they tried to inject these as pharmaceuticals in patients again, and this was the first positron emission tomography-like exams, a crucial tool that we use in nowadays modern medicine to see what the cancer truly is and how it functions. And to end up the story on the treatment part, so another great physics discovery, if we don't look at X-rays, we have particles. They essentially stop at some certain depth, the Bragg peak. And then around 40 years later, this physics idea became, hey, we could use it for medicine. And truly, this idea, it still stands as the backbone of proton and ion therapy that is used around the world. But of course, it went later into technological developments for this. And the picture of the clinics back then, so it was X-rays and it was the radium. But it wasn't that good for the deep-seated tumors. So what they did, we invented cobalt-60 treatment machines. And then came the workhorse, I think, of the modern radiation therapy, linear accelerator. And truly, that is something that when we added it to rotate around the patient, shape the radiation beam, image the patient, it is where we truly stand at a modern therapy these days. And if you think about it, that just a bit over 100 years was this first discovery of invisible light, so to say, the X-rays. And then came the boom when we introduced the computers in this field. Truly, we came from, in just 30, 40 years, we came from just shaping like cube-shaped radiation in the patient to truly sculpting the radiation to perfectly match it to the cancer of each individual patient. So truly where we stand now is that I could show you tons of acronyms, and I'm not going to go into them. We just love acronyms in our field. And it's truly to give you the idea how much we've evolved, how much technological advancements are here with all this. And truly it all can be summed up, if you go back to this machine, about accuracy, precision, and minimization. Accuracy, how we shape it like a perfect sculpture, as far as the laws of physics allow us. Precision, to deliver this perfect, so to say, radiation sculpture, what it needs to be. And minimization, because like I said in the beginning, the idea is to use as minimum radiation to get best effect, be it diagnostic image or cancer treatment. But truly then going in the initial title, the future of it all, the cocktail of it all, is, and to spark your curiosity on this topic and like science in general, because I think when we ask what could be done for the future, I think it's truly where the great ideas arise. And the first thing here is the grim picture that the cancer statistics, it's ever growing, and predictions do show that this trend will continue. What helps us truly is that we have a brighter outlook with all these technologies, because we have ways to early diagnostics of cancer, and all these technological developments, not just in radiation therapy, but also chemotherapy and surgery. And all that truly helps us look for a brighter future. And here comes actually what we're trying now to do, comes from the Man versus the Wild, very inspirational quote: improvise, adapt, and overcome. Of course, improvisation, that's more from the innovation part, but adapt and overcome, that's truly what we're doing. We're changing a bit the paradigm, because usually how we do the treatment, we take image of a patient, and we do our radiation on that, how it will look like, and then we just check if the patient is the same each day as that first initial image for 20, 30 days. And let's be realistic, of course, it can't happen. And we have, of course, devices to ensure this. We have imaging and everything. But truly what we are changing now is, since the patient is changing day to day, let's adapt the radiation to it itself. Let's change the radiation day to day. And that is the adaptive therapy, kind of like personalized medicine approach, where we truly change it each day, and that is truly a big help from all the computing power that we've uncovered last years, and artificial intelligence solutions. But going back to the three pillars, so physics, biology, and technology. So physics, our physics understanding, it has grown tremendously over the years, the way how radiation interacts with the human body. And truly, we've developed algorithms that truly can tell us exactly how the radiation will act in the human body. But this knowledge also gives us opportunities to look forward, because if you remember some names from physics, photons, X-rays, electrons, protons, carbon ions, these are things that are here in the clinical practice. What we're looking for the future is truly changing the radiation type here. And we could use, if you look at the periodical table, let's use helium ions, let's use oxygen ions, let's use neon ions. That's all a research still going on. If we move on to the right energy, we could take electrons, increase the energy tenfold, deliver that. It's a completely different story from what we're doing now. And here we could also add magnets and focus that, and that would essentially act like when you take a magnifying glass with light and try to burn a hole in the paper. And right intensity, so there we are trying to change the paradigm, because usually we're delivering radiation in scale of minutes. But the idea is to deliver it in a single zap, in a scale of milliseconds. And that changes the biological effects of all of this. So going into biology aspect of this all, so truly to treat a cancer, we must understand it. And our knowledge and our technologies for functional imaging, they have developed tremendous new ways how to do it, because now we could answer for questions like, this part of the cancer seems more aggressive, maybe we should give more radiation there. There is not enough oxygen in that part, maybe we should deliver more radiation there again, or we can change the particle type altogether. different radiation type to treat that. And also, maybe, just maybe, the ideas that have been arisen in medicine is also we could not treat the whole tumor, not irradiate the whole tumor, we could just hit some crucial parts and we would get the same clinical effect. And changing the whole picture altogether, I'm talking here about delivering radiation from outside. What if we do it internally? That's a thing that has been also in the picture for some time, but it's coming again with all the technological advancements for the future, is essentially you take some radioactive element, bind it to a biological molecule, and that molecule essentially it acts like a key. And that key is searching for a lock, and that lock is the cancer. So essentially when it finds the lock, then you irradiate the tumor from there. And that is truly a wonderful opportunity to work for chemists, physicists, and biologists to find these elements, to find these keys, and most importantly, to find these locks on the cancer, because truly we are more thinking now, not just how it's the physics of radiation, how it interacts with the tissue, it's truly the biology. It's changing truly the perspective of how we see things here. And lastly, technologies, of course, because all these ideas, they must be delivered. And that is where technologies and engineering comes into play, because sometimes it can be said, okay, physicists and maybe clinicians, they can come up with various interesting ideas, but truly it is up to engineers to actually deliver this. And they have delivered. They've joined technologies together, these accelerators with magnetic resonance imaging machines, with positron emission tomography machines to give us new ways to treat cancers moving real time. Also to develop technologies to give this zap of radiation, to give this higher energy and everything like that. And that is actually a group where I work at CERN. It's when we look at the ion therapy, we need these ion therapy machines that can truly do all these new things and do it compactly and cost efficiently. So what to see from all this is I'm scratching the surface here altogether, and I'm just touching on the scientific aspects. But what I want to show you is that truly modern science, it's a growing field. It's a very lively environment, and we have like tons of young people there. And look at me, I'm still young, as at least I assume that I'm still young. But truly, science also, it's not behind some glass wall, like I think we could have thought some years ago. Because truly, science now, it's, I think, closer to society than ever. Because scientists and engineers and innovators, they want to share their knowledge. They want to share their passion, their skills for the benefit of society. And what was mentioned, I think, in the first block of presentations also, the beautiful thing that happens is the multidisciplinarity. When we have tons of people from different backgrounds, like I said here, physicists, chemists, biologists, engineers. It's truly where the great new innovations, they come from. It's this joint force of different topics. And example from that, from CERN, they developed a silicon chip for tracking particles. And that ended up in medicine, in computer tomography. They delivered first color 3D image. And the final thought that I want to leave you with is if you go back again to the history, like I said, Hertz, he discovered the radio waves, and then he didn't truly believe that they will have any practical applications. But I think we all feel in our pocket, our smartphones, it's just a bunch of Wi-Fi's now and communication signals. I wonder if we could go back to the past and ask Röntgen when he discovered his invisible light. Would he believed that it would create billions of medical images these days? And truly, with this, I urge you to be curious, because see, these great scientific minds in their pursuit of understanding how our world works, they've developed phenomena that are later used by innovators to give us new technologies. And to leave you the final thought, a great citation from the great Albert Einstein: imagination, it's more important than knowledge, because knowledge is limited, and imagination, it encircles the world. So truly, be curious as your students here, be imaginative, and you might truly come up with some great new innovations, be it in the field of uses of radiation, or be it something completely else. Thank you.